Hello there and welcome to your Knots Today with me, Mark Dennison. With all the latest news and views from across the county, here's what's coming up today. Firstly, we've been down to the ponds near Radcliffe-on-Trent where fish have been dying due to the high temperatures last week.
I read on Facebook on Sunday morning that there were hundreds of dead fish here. When I actually got down here about half an hour or so later, there weren't hundreds, there were far more than that.
As usual, we've got a great lineup of guests as well, including Erin McDade of the Nottinghamshire Wildlife Trust. He's going to be telling us about a scheme to control a non-native population of mink, which has helped bring back some of the most popular birds at the reserve, the giant crested grebe. Erin will have more on that later in the show. Also on the programme, we're going to be talking about the return of a 5-day festival that will welcome some of the best improvisers from around the world to this city of ours. The Robin Hood International Improv Festival is back for its fourth year and will bring some of the best unscripted comedy magic to Squire Performing Arts Centre. One of its directors will join me on the sofa to tell us all about it in just a wee while. We'll also have all your sport as well, including reaction from Mansfield goal scorer Jamie McDonald to his side's victory against Blackpool.
I'm not used to scoring, so I didn't know where to celebrate in front of no fans in the corner. But no, it was good. Obviously, I feel like I'm always a threat from corners from a good heading ability, and then fell to my head, right place, right time, and put in the net.
We'll also hear from Nottingham Forest women's new signing Rachel Rowe and her thoughts after making the move to the City Ground.
There's a lot of things that I'm looking for within a club that hopefully is going to be somewhere where I can stay for a period of time and make a difference within the club and help to push it along.
So all of that and plenty more coming up for you. But firstly, a much-loved community pond has been left devastated after last week's heatwave caused the deaths of hundreds of fish. The lily ponds near Radcliffe-on-Trent are home to a large number of pike, carp and other small fish. But hot weather depleted the water of its oxygen, causing many deaths. We spoke with a local councillor about the impact this has left behind.
I read on Facebook on Sunday morning that there were hundreds of dead fish here. When I actually got down here about half an hour or so later, there weren't hundreds, there were far more than that. And the beach area that we see behind us actually had a huge number of them, and I was absolutely atrocious. Really was awful. You could smell it 100 odd yards away. Most of the comments on Facebook are positive but concerned. Concerned that young children don't come in here, concerned that dogs don't swim in the water, which echoes our concerns. It isn't a safe place for them to be, which is why when I came down here I put signage at the two entrances to the lily ponds to make certain that people were aware. This is the main area they come to, and this is the main area children paddle, so this is the bit that, and this is where the fish were at their worst. I mean, there are obviously others in between the reeds, but you couldn't see them as easily. It never, other than times of flood, it's never linked to the Trent, so it isn't going to pollute the Trent, and it isn't sewage from anything that people might say from the Trent coming into the lily ponds. It's purely because of the having weeks and weeks with no rain and relentless sun, really. The ability of the water to hold dissolved oxygen is reduced, and so the poor little fish unfortunately have just suffocated. There's nothing we could have really done to avoid it, as it's a natural area, really. We had very little choice, unfortunately, because it isn't just the bank that you see here where the fish are, it's within the reeds. There's no way we could remove all those fish, and as somebody said to me, just let nature take its course. The gulls have been feeding on them, the heron has, I'm sure foxes have been feeding on them, so it's an increased diet for the natural wildlife, and it does happen. I'm told it's happening all over the country at the moment because we've had so much prolonged hot, dry weather.
Now, from fish to birds, as the great crested grebes have been one of the most popular birds for visitors of the Attenborough Nature Reserve, but in recent years the species has been impacted by the predation of non-native American mink, whose growth has gone unchecked due to them having no natural predators. This has led to Nottinghamshire Wildlife Trust to take measures to control their numbers across the Erewash Valley and other rivers, which has helped bring back some of these beloved birds. Erin McDade from the Trust joins me now to tell us more about this story. Good to see you again. What's the problem with mink then? What have they been doing?
Yeah, mink started to establish in the 1950s. They're a non-native species from North America. They were introduced for fur farming, commercial fur farming, and then escaped, and some of them were actually released into our landscape. And ever since then, effectively, they've been wreaking havoc. We've wanted to do something about mink for a long time, but obviously killing any wild animal is a big consideration for a conservation organisation, and we have to know it's going to make a difference. So killing a few mink isn't justifiable. So we've had to wait until there was a methodology where we know we could actually work to eradicate them from whole river systems, and that's what we've been working to do with the funding from Natural England from their species recovery programme. So we've now removed about over 195, so almost 200 mink since January 2024. And
How do you do that, by the way?
We trap them and then they're humanely dispatched. But the difference is it's the fact that you're working across whole river systems. We're not just working on our nature reserves, as you mentioned. We're working in the Erewash Valley to benefit Attenborough, and similarly across the county. And we've now expanded the programme and extended the programme with support for Severn Trent. So we're now working county-wide. So we've actually got traps on 11 different rivers in the county. And where we started in the Idle Valley early on, we're now seeing less and less and less mink coming to those traps, because essentially we're pushing the population right back. We're not just taking a few out, and we're using science here. We have to be driven by science. We've done it to restore the water vole population, but this year we're starting to get anecdotal evidence that species like the great crested grebe, which has long been associated with Attenborough, people love to see their courtship display in the spring. Many of our graphics down the years linked to Attenborough have featured the great crested grebe, and they seem to have had a much better season this year, where we have been trapping. I think we've taken 30 mink out of Attenborough, almost 30, so a big proportion of those we've taken out across the county. But also where we've been working with farmers in other parts of the county, they've immediately seen an increase in species like moorhen, and at the nature reserve itself, at Attenborough itself, the team have seen lapwing nesting on one of the islands they've not seen lapwing nesting on before. So it's only anecdotal at the moment, but we're seeing that other species that we know have been impacted, they weren't the driver for the programme, but we know they've been impacted. So we're seeing that positive news, as well as the sheer numbers of mink that we are removing from the systems.
I mean, you touched on this yourself, Erin, but it's a tricky balance, isn't it? Especially for an organisation like yours, to decide to think, right, we need to deal with that side of things to protect X, Y, and Z. So how have you and your colleagues kind of managed to figure that out?
Yeah, it is a really big decision for us. We're often called on to control numbers of other species where things like songbird numbers are down. A lot of people push us to control things like magpies or sparrowhawks or peregrines. We've got the wonderful peregrines in the city. But all of those things should actually be able to get into a natural balance. Those species have always evolved and lived side by side, whereas something like the North American mink simply shouldn't be here. It's here because of man's activity, so we feel there is a duty. We're here to try and protect and restore nature. We wouldn't be able to do that without taking this action, but we've not been able to take the action, or not been comfortable taking the action until we could actually do it in a systematic and effective way, so it actually has the positive benefit we require. There's no point doing it in a sort of doing it for the sake of doing it. That would be wrong. So we've always been, say, science-led, and the investment through the species recovery programme meant we could do it at scale, and thankfully we're now seeing the positive results.
Let's talk about what's happening this weekend, because it's your anniversary, of course, so you've got lots planned, haven't you?
Yeah, say the Great Crested Grebes at Attenborough, one of the features, but yeah, it is our 20th anniversary of opening the Nature Centre at Attenborough this year, and we've wanted to try and celebrate that in various ways. And this bank holiday, we've got a whole programme of activities. It really is a big bank holiday for us. So starting on Friday evening, we've got a bat walk, and then right through Saturday, Sunday, Monday, we've got pond dipping sessions for families, we've got moth identification sessions right through the weekend. weekend. One of our great friends at the reserve, Paul Dyson's putting on a special art exhibition right across the weekend. And then we've got a 3-day barbecue. We're actually featuring meat from our conservation grazing programme. So some of the animals we rear ourselves as part of our conservation efforts will actually be available at the barbecue. And we're opening the centre late for those 3 nights, so right till 7. So lots more opportunity to enjoy the centre as well. So yeah, we'll be really busy with the team down there this bank holiday.
Excellent. Well, I hope it goes well. As ever, good to see you, Erin. Thanks for coming into Notts TV today. Time for some news headlines now. And firstly, a suspect has been arrested on suspicion of murder following a man's death in Mansfield Woodhouse. Officers were called to an address on New Haven Avenue in Mansfield Woodhouse around 6:20 last Sunday, where paramedics discovered the body of a 50-year-old man. It was believed he was injured following a disturbance in the street from the previous day. Now, a 29-year-old man has been arrested on suspicion of murder, as well as a 19-year-old woman and a 76-year-old man on suspicion of assisting an offender. All 3 remain in custody, and detectives are still asking for witnesses of the fight to come forward. And also, the police have made an arrest after a car crashed into a family's living room over the weekend. The vehicle ploughed into the front of the house on Flamsteed Road, Strelly, around 1 a.m. last Sunday morning, with the driver supposedly losing control at a roundabout before colliding with the house. Nobody was injured, but the driver fled the scene, prompting police to conduct searches of the nearby area. They found a 22-year-old man who was arrested on suspicion of dangerous driving, drink driving and criminal damage, as well as driving without a valid licence and insurance. Now, we're going to take a short break in just a few moments' time. Don't you go anywhere, though, because when we come back, we'll be talking about the return of the International Robin Hood Improv Festival, which will be bringing some comedy magic from around the world to this great city of ours, as well as a big bumper roundup of your sport as well. Stags in action of late, and new signings for Nottingham Forest women as well. We'll meet them next. Hello, welcome back to Notts Today with me, Mark Dennison. Got some more great guests lined up for you shortly. But firstly, news headlines, and Nottingham City Council has successfully secured a court order to recover more than £60,000 from a man previously convicted of operating a fraudulent skip hire business. Following an investigation by the council's trading standards team, a man was convicted of fraud for running an unlicensed business back in 2015, with a confiscation order of £60,000 being imposed, although he originally couldn't pay the amount. Recent inquiries have found he's since acquired sufficient assets and has been ordered by a judge to pay the outstanding amount within 3 months or go to jail. And a Notts policing operation has resulted in a 45% drop in reoffending in the Newark area by working closely with ex-offenders. Following its success in Newark, Operation Legacy has now been extended to Bassetlaw with the hope there'll be similar results. Have a look at this video from Nottinghamshire Police.
If someone is housed, they're in receipt of benefits and treatment, they're absolutely far less likely to offend. We applied them to some of our more chaotic offenders. Success for us is around crime reduction. On the whole, the original 10, their crime rate was actually reduced by around 45% after the first 12 months. There are those that have been given many opportunities to get on board and work with us, and they've chosen not to. So we document everything we do, and we can present that evidence to the court and say that person needs putting in prison and remove them from the community that they're causing harm to. One of the success stories was a chap who had been in prison for quite a nasty street robbery, severe alcohol. The first day we went to see him, he got out of bed and insisted he drank several bottles of cider before he'd even speak to us. He was on the absolute path to prison. He'd been a serial offender all of his life. We did some work with him really early on. He had no heating at home, for example, and the officer managed to get local authority to come around and fix his heating, so he had a warm home.
Time for our final chat on the show now, and if you're looking for a few laughs, who isn't these days? Look no further, because Nottingham will be setting the stage for the return of the world's finest improvised comedy talent, the Robin Hood International Improv Festival, back for its 4th year at the Squire Performing Arts Centre, where it'll welcome more than 120 improvisers from around the world to give you 5 full days of pure unscripted magic and mayhem. And here to tell us what to expect is festival co-director Lloydie James Lloyd. Good to see you again.
Thanks for having me again, Mark.
Absolute pleasure. In case people are not yet initiated, what is improv?
Improv or improvised comedy or improvised theatre is essentially theatre without a script.
Yeah.
So we are creating shows, scenes, sketches, entire plays sometimes, musicals sometimes as well, but all without a script. Nothing has been pre-prepared. So in theatre, you kind of deal with the what and then the how. So what, it's a play, how are we going to do it? In improv, we deal with the how before the what. So it's like, how am I going to react when I get on stage? And then what is it going to end up being?
Right. It's really flying by the seat of your pants, isn't it?
Oh yeah, that's what makes it so fun. And also, you don't have to remember lines, which for people like me is really useful.
Yes, yeah. I mentioned there, you've got people coming from around the world. Yeah. So give us a few, how far away are people coming from?
Oh, literally from all over, from Denmark, from Germany, from the USA, from Canada, from India, from Colombia, all around the world. It's our 4th year now, and word has spread, and we've got a bit of a reputation. We've now become the UK's largest improv festival and one of the larger ones in Europe as well.
That's great. Well, that just goes to show, doesn't it? If people are coming from around the world, you're obviously doing your job, you and your colleagues.
Well, I hope so. We've got a really amazing festival team, and so everything is about the experience that visiting improvisers and locals have. So whether that is brilliant workshops for improvisers to upskill themselves, whether it's, just having a good time with different socials and brunches and parties that we've organised, but then also celebrating the art form of improv with as many different types of improvised show that we can possibly put on. And we've got a really brilliant selection this year, but I would say that, wouldn't I?
Of course, and you're allowed to say that
Thank
for the
you.
record.
Good.
So look, I mean, you mentioned there are lots of different types of improv. Give us a little flavour then. Don't list them all because we'll be here all week.
Oh yeah.
But how many different types of improv are there?
Well, so there are different types in terms of genre. So for example, at the festival on Saturday night, on whatever the Saturday is, 6th of September. It's the Saturday of the festival. We've got Spontaneous Potter, and that is a Harry Potter parody. So that kind of follows a narrative. They're all dressed in cloaks. They've got wands. An incredibly popular touring show in the UK at the moment, and they're coming. So that's one type. You can have improvised sketches, which take a suggestion, and then you can have lots of unrelated sketches based on that. You can have short form improv, which is the kind of stuff that you might have seen with Whose Line Is It Anyway? So lots of different types. I'm in a show on the Thursday night called Momentus de la Vita, and that is taking black and white photographs and using those as the stimulation for the different scenes that we'll do throughout the show. Equally, we've got a show coming on the Saturday night called The Bazaar. Their show is called Arabian Nights, and they are Europe's first Southwest Asian and North African improv team. And they're going to mix poetry and music and dance, all in a show that has improv at its core. So there's so many different things that you can see and get involved in.
So look, it sounds really exciting, all these international performances and some from closer home as well. How can people find out more? So it's the first week, it's the Wednesday through to the Sunday, is that right?
Wednesday the 3rd through to Sunday the 7th. Yeah. Whole different load of improv shows, and you can go to robinhoodimprov.co.uk and have a little look at the shows, maybe buy a pass to see a bunch of shows, maybe just pick your favourites. And also we're very aware that people are taking a gamble on improv very often because they've not seen it, so everything is reasonably priced. Most shows are £9, headline shows are £12. So you will not see world-class comedy for a price that low.
There we are. And just a quick thing, as someone who's made this mistake, if I come along and sit at the front, I'm not going to get picked on.
Do you know what? We're nice in improv. We'll ask for your suggestions, but then we'll take your suggestions and turn it into comedy.
But you won't make me feel awful.
No. Honestly, it's so funny you won't believe it's made up.
Thanks, Lloydie. Time for your sport now, and we'll start with Mansfield, who impressed at home against Blackpool last night, running out 2-0 winners. The victory is the Stags' third in as many games and moved them up to 12th in League One. Jamie McDonnell, who netted twice, was pleased with the overall performance of the side.
In the first half, felt like we really were good in the ball and used the ball well. In the first half especially, and then tonight we built on that performance from the weekend, and then came back in with a very good attitude and obviously showed in the first half, and then unlucky to go in 0-0 after a penalty save, which I felt was a good save, and then come out in the second half and continue to on and finally get a goal. And I used to score like, so I didn't know where to celebrate in front of no fans in the corner. But no, it was good. Obviously, I feel like I'm always a threat from corners from a good heading ability, and then fell to my head, right place, right time, and put it in the net. Yeah, I'm impressed with the standard, especially even for the first day I came into the squad. Really, like the standard of the professionalism of the squad and the players was very impressive, and I felt like it would be good for my experience as a young player, especially to come in and learn off these experienced players, especially playing midfield with Reedy, who's a lot older than me and very technically very good and stuff I take out of his game and very impressed with.
Staying with football, Nottingham Forest women have been busy in the transfer window, announcing 2 new signings in the last 48 hours. That includes Canadian international Deanne Rose of the Women's Super League, having spent time with both Leicester City and Reading. The 26-year-old has made 88 appearances for her country and won gold at the 2020 Tokyo Olympics. Also joining the ranks is Welsh international Rachel Rowe, who signed from fellow Women's Super League 2 side Southampton. In a Forest TV interview, the 32-year-old said it was the ambition of the club that drew her to the City ground.
It's just a highly ambitious club, and for me, at my point in my career, there's a lot of things that I'm looking for within a club that hopefully is going to be somewhere where I can stay for a period of time and make a difference within the club and help to push it along. So yeah, it had everything, it ticked every box, and like I said, I'm super excited to be a part of Nottingham Forest. I feel like everywhere I've been, I've learned a lot. Obviously, back down to Southampton, playing in the Championship, so getting a feel for that, because I started my career in the Championship, but it was so different 10 years ago. So seeing how competitive the league is and what it takes to win games in that league, because I feel like it is highly competitive and anybody can beat anybody. Yeah, so I'm hoping to bring loads of experience on and off the pitch.
And just finally with the football, Notts County face Shrewsbury, or is it Shrewsbury? At Meadow Lane. This evening, Shrewsbury, apparently, the Magpies have endured a difficult start to the league campaign, having taken just 1 point from the opening 3 games. Their opposition tonight, that's Shrewsbury, have also failed to win so far this campaign and provide County with an opportunity to kick-start their season. And finishing with the cricket, last night the Trent Rockets men put themselves in a brilliant position to qualify for the 100 knockout with a superb display against the Manchester Originals. The home side restricted the Originals to 98 runs from their 100 balls before chasing the total down with 26 balls to spare. 21-year-old Rian Ahmed starred for the Midlands side as he took 2 wickets and made 45 runs with the bat, including 5 fours and 2 sixes. The result leaves Rockets second in the table with just 3 games left to play. And now, your picture of the day. This one is taken by Helen Green. I love a sunflower, don't you? Don't forget you can tag us in on your photos on Instagram, Notts_TV, if you'd like to see your pics on the telly. And who wouldn't, frankly? Weather-wise, been a bit of a grey one today. Temperatures down to 11 degrees overnight. It's a similar story for the next few days, although it does warm up tomorrow. Temperatures similar, 19, 1 or 2 sunny spells, down to 12 tomorrow night, and then on to Friday, getting a little bit warmer into the bank holiday weekend. Highs of 21 degrees, quite a lot of clouds still around, it's quite persistent, and lows of 14 on Friday night. That'll about do it for today at least. Thanks to all of our great guests and to the team behind the scenes. Al's here from 5:30 tomorrow to do it again. Meantime, have a lovely evening. Bye-bye.